Have you ever found yourself pouring your soul into someone who can give you nothing back? A man who takes your light, your energy, your devotion, and offers you only silence, ambiguity, or the hollow echo of his own emptiness in return. This is not a simple misjudgment in love or a casual mistake in choosing a partner. It is a deep, resonant ache, a spiritual and psychological puzzle that has left countless brilliant women wondering if they are somehow fundamentally broken, unlovable, or not enough. This experience, this pattern of loving someone who cannot truly receive or return that love, is not a testament to your lack of worth. It is the sign of a wound, a profound and sacred wound that is calling out not for the love of another, but for your own healing attention. On this channel, Feminine Queen, we don't just talk about attraction or relationships. We delve into the very architecture of your soul, your power, and your reign. The phenomenon of being drawn to an emotionally unavailable person is one of the most critical initiations a woman can face on her path to becoming a true queen. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung taught us that the psyche has a powerful, undeniable intelligence. It will repeatedly guide you toward situations that mirror your deepest, unhealed injuries until you finally turn inward and confront them. This video is not about blaming him or fixing him. It is about understanding the magnificent, painful, and ultimately empowering reason your soul chose this specific lesson. It's about decoding the wound so that it no longer leads you to empty wells, but instead becomes the very source of your unshakable power. So, my queens, prepare to journey inward. We are about to unravel the psychological tapestry that creates this painful attraction, and in doing so, you will reclaim the parts of yourself you thought were lost. This is not about learning tricks to make him love you. It's about understanding the wound so deeply that you become immune to anyone who is incapable of meeting your majesty. You will learn that this pain is not a curse, but a coronation in disguise, because when you understand the wound, you don't just stop loving those who give you nothing. You become a woman who, by her very presence, commands everything she deserves. You are a feminine queen, and your journey to self-possession begins now. 1. The sacred wound. When love feels like an unfinished prayer. A feminine queen does not beg for affection. She is the source of it. Yet, if you find yourself in the orbit of a man who makes you feel like you are perpetually auditioning for a role he has no intention of casting, it is vital to understand the origin of this script. This is not about him. It is about an ancient, sacred wound within you. Carl Jung spoke of this as the complex, an emotionally charged cluster of ideas and memories in the personal unconscious. For many women, this is the unworthiness complex, often formed in the quiet moments of childhood where love felt conditional, where praise had to be earned, or where emotional attunement from a parental figure was absent. This early experience creates a blueprint that dictates, I am only lovable when I am striving, fixing, or proving my worth. The sacred wound is the belief that love is something you must win, a prize for good behavior, rather than something you are inherently deserving of. This is why the emotionally distant man feels so magnetic. He is not a person, he is a symbol. He is the living embodiment of the prize you were never given, the validation you always craved. Your soul, in its infinite wisdom, is not drawn to his emptiness, but is using him as a mirror to show you your own. Your psyche is reenacting the original scene of the crime, not to torture you, but to offer you a chance to write a different ending. The Stoic lens here teaches us to see him not as a source of pain, but as an external, an indifferent object. His inability to love you is a fact about him, not a judgment on you. Your power lies not in changing him, but in changing your relationship to the wound he reflects. Once you turn your attention away from the mirror and onto your own reflection, you begin the sacred work. You stop praying for his love and start answering your own prayers for wholeness. 2. The repetition spell. Why you keep summoning the same lesson. A queen is a woman of discernment, yet if you look back at your romantic history and see a lineup of emotionally unavailable men, the charmingly distant, the tragically broken, the perpetually not ready, this is not a sign of poor taste. It is a powerful psychological phenomenon that Carl Jung identified as the repetition compulsion. Your unconscious mind is not a fan of unresolved stories. It will relentlessly recreate the circumstances of an original wound, placing you in the same dynamic time and time again, not out of cruelty, but out of a desperate, insistent need for mastery and healing. Each man who cannot commit, who cannot see you, who cannot meet you in your depth, is not a new character. He is the same ghost in a different costume, summoned by your soul to play a part in a drama you have yet to conclude. The spell is broken the moment you recognize the pattern not as a curse, but as a curriculum. This is your soul's masterclass in self-love, and this man is simply the visiting professor. Every time you feel that familiar pang of anxiety, that desperate need for reassurance from someone constitutionally incapable of giving it, you are not failing a test. You are being presented with the final exam question again. Will you choose you this time? A Stoic approach illuminates this path by focusing on internal locus of control. You cannot control if he texts back, if he changes, or if he finally recognizes your worth. But you can control your response. You can choose to see the pattern, name the spell, and refuse to participate in the magic trick any longer. A feminine queen realizes she is not here to be a student in someone else's lesson plan. She is the lesson. And when she finally learns it, the universe stops sending her teachers. 3. The love mirage. When pain wears the mask of devotion. A feminine queen's heart is a sanctuary of peace, not a battlefield of turmoil. Real, healthy love feels like coming home. It is calm, steady, and expansive. It does not require you to become a detective, deciphering mixed signals and analyzing crumbs of attention for proof of affection. If you find your nervous system in a constant state of high alert, riding the dizzying roller coaster of his hot and cold behavior, and have somehow convinced yourself that this intense, chaotic feeling is passion, you are experiencing a dangerous mirage. This is not love. It is the addictive cycle of a trauma bond. Carl Jung warned us that our unexamined wounds often lead us to romanticize our suffering. We mistake the anxiety of intermittent reinforcement, the unpredictable switching between affection and withdrawal, for the thrilling spark of deep connection. This man is not a complex, tragic hero you are meant to save. He is a test of your own self-worth. His inconsistency is not a sign of his deep, brooding soul. It is a sign of his emotional immaturity and inability to form a secure attachment. The highs feel so incredible precisely because the lows are so devastatingly empty, creating a chemical addiction in your brain that mirrors substance abuse. To break free, you must adopt a Stoic's clarity, stripping away the romantic narrative and observing the plain facts. Does this connection bring you peace or anxiety? Does it build you up or break you down? A feminine queen does not subscribe to the myth that love must hurt. She understands that true devotion is not measured in the intensity of the pain she is willing to endure for someone, but in the unwavering peace and respect she commands for herself. When she stops calling agony passion, the mirage dissolves, and she is finally free to walk toward the oasis of real love. 4. The illusion of potential, loving a ghost instead of a man. A feminine queen builds her empire on the solid ground of reality, not the shifting sands of fantasy. If you have ever found yourself staying in a situation with a man because of who he could be, you were not loving him, you were loving a ghost you created. This is the powerful and often devastating mechanism of projection, a concept central to Carl Jung's work. Projection occurs when we unconsciously take qualities, ambitions, and potentials that exist within ourselves and cast them onto another person, like a film projector displaying an image on a blank screen. You see his potential so clearly because it is, in fact, your potential. You see his capacity for greatness because it is your greatness. You are in love with a beautiful illusion you've painted over a man who is, in reality, a blank canvas. He is not a fixer-upper project. He is a divine message from your own soul. The message is this: stop outsourcing your power. Stop giving away your vision. Take back your projections and build this kingdom for yourself. The man who says, "I'm not ready," or "I'm working on myself," is speaking his truth. A Stoic accepts this reality without argument or embellishment. To argue with his truth is to argue with reality itself, a futile and draining exercise. A feminine queen does not waste her precious life force trying to convince a man to become the king she envisions. She recognizes that her vision is a blueprint for her own life, not his. She lets go of the ghost, takes back her crown, and starts building her throne. The right man will not need her to see his potential. He will arrive as a king, ready to recognize his queen. 5. The royal exit, leaving without explanation. A true queen's value is self-evident. It is not up for debate, negotiation, or discussion. If a man in your presence requires a detailed presentation, a closing argument, or a list of reasons why he should treat you with respect and devotion, he has already disqualified himself from your court. The urge to explain, to make him understand the depth of his mistake, comes from the wounded part of you that still believes your worth is contingent on his validation. Carl Jung taught that true psychological health involves facing necessary pain. The act of staying in a soul-crushing connection to avoid the sharp, clean pain of leaving is what he called a neurotic solution. It is the avoidance of legitimate suffering, which only creates more prolonged, dull suffering in the end. Therefore, your departure must not be an emotional plea or a dramatic ultimatum. It is a royal decree. It is a quiet, dignified, and final statement of your standard. You do not owe him an explanation, because his lack of understanding is the very reason you must leave. Your actions become the only explanation necessary. A Stoic practices this by understanding what is and is not within her control. You cannot control his capacity for insight or his ability to feel regret. You can only control your own choices and uphold your own virtues. A feminine queen does not slam the door. She simply turns and walks toward her own throne. She builds her own castle, fortifies her own walls, and trusts that the silence of her absence will be a more powerful statement than any words she could have ever uttered. All right, feminine queens. Before we continue this sacred journey of reclaiming your power, I want to take a moment and thank you. You are the heart and soul of the feminine queen community. Your powerful energy, your insightful comments, and your willingness to share this wisdom are what make this space a fortress of empowerment. The wound we are discussing is deep, but healing it together makes us all stronger. If this message is speaking to the queen within you, keep that incredible energy flowing. Do me a personal favor and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell and share this video with another woman who is ready to stop loving a wound and start building her throne. Your support is the fuel for this entire mission, and I will love you forever for it. Now, let's get back to your coronation. 6. The awakening, when the mirror shows your true face. A feminine queen does not run from solitude. She commands it as a source of her deepest power. The precise moment you stop looking for your reflection in the eyes of a man who refuses to see you is the moment you finally meet yourself. This is the great turning point, the beginning of what Carl Jung termed individuation. Individuation is the lifelong psychological process of becoming the most complete, integrated, and authentic version of yourself. It is the journey of reuniting the fractured pieces of your soul, the conscious and the unconscious, the light and the shadow, into a harmonious whole. The pain of loving someone who gives you nothing is often the final, most potent catalyst for this journey. His rejection is not a verdict on your worth. It is the shattering of the mirror you were so desperately looking into. Once the mirror is broken, you are forced to look at the source, you. The man who ignored you, neglected you, and failed you was not a cosmic mistake or a tragic loss. He was a sacred key. He was the catalyst that unlocked the profound and life-altering realization. I was never looking for his love. I was looking for my own. The emptiness he left behind is not a void to be feared. It is a sacred space to be filled with your own presence, your own passions, your own purpose. From a Stoic perspective, this is the ultimate practice of self-reliance. You realize that your happiness and sense of worth are entirely within your own mind. You stop seeking love from a place of lack and begin to radiate it from a place of wholeness. You are no longer a half searching for another half, but a complete universe attracting another complete universe. 7. The alchemy of self-possession, turning wounds into wisdom. A feminine queen does not see her scars as imperfections to be hidden. She sees them as intricate patterns of gold, tracing the map of her strength. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment you felt invisible or unloved was not a punishment from the universe. It was preparation. It was the intense heat and pressure required for the alchemical transformation of your soul. Carl Jung famously wrote that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. He believed that the gold, the treasure of our true self, is found not by avoiding our pain, but by courageously descending into the darkness of our own psyche. The wound that made you love someone who could give you nothing is your personal underworld, and it is precisely there that your greatest power lies. The alchemy happens when you stop asking the victim's question, "Why doesn't he love me?" and start asking the sovereign's question, "How can I love myself so fiercely that his love becomes irrelevant?" This shift in inquiry is the philosopher's stone. It transforms the lead of your pain into the gold of your wisdom. You begin to see that his neglect taught you self-reliance. His silence taught you to listen to your own inner voice. His inability to choose you forced you to choose yourself, perhaps for the very first time. You are no longer defined by what was done to you. You are defined by what you have done with it. You are not a victim of your past. You are the alchemist who has turned her deepest wounds into her most radiant crown. This is the essence of being a feminine queen. 8. The sovereignty of silence. When words are no longer necessary. A queen does not hold court to argue her value. Her presence is the argument. The man who needs to be convinced of your worth was never destined to be your king. Carl Jung taught that what remains unconscious exerts a powerful, controlling influence over our lives. The compulsive need to explain, to justify your feelings, to prove your point to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, is driven by the unconscious belief that your reality is not valid until it is co-signed by another. The moment you consciously decide to withdraw your energy from this futile dynamic, you sever the energetic cords that have kept you tethered to the wound. You reclaim your power not with a shout, but with a profound and unshakable silence. Your silence is not a punishment or a passive-aggressive tactic. It is a boundary made of steel. It is a declaration that says, "My peace is more important than your understanding. My reality is not up for negotiation." From a Stoic viewpoint, this is the epitome of wisdom, focusing only on what you can control, your actions and your inner state, and releasing the desire to control the uncontrollable, which is the mind and perception of another. Silence becomes your shield, protecting your energy from being drained. Distance becomes your sword, cutting ties with that which does not serve your highest good. For the man who was incapable of hearing your words, the thunder of your absence will be the only sound he can truly comprehend. And for the right man, your quiet confidence will be the most captivating song he has ever heard. 9. The Coronation, when she stops waiting and starts reigning. A feminine queen does not sit by the window waiting to be chosen for the ball. She is the one hosting the ball. The entire paradigm of waiting for him to be ready, waiting for him to recognize her value, waiting for him to commit, is a relic of a wounded mindset. The right kind of love, the love worthy of a queen, does not require you to shrink, to dim your light, or to put your life on hold. It meets you at your full blazing radiance. Carl Jung's ultimate goal for the human psyche was the realization of the self, which is the archetype of wholeness, the fully integrated ruler of one's own inner kingdom. This is the woman who is no longer split between the person she truly is and the person she pretends to be to win approval or love. Your coronation occurs the moment you stop auditioning for a supporting role in someone else's story and claim the lead role in your own. This is a profound, energetic shift. Instead of projecting an energy of seeking and needing, you begin to radiate an energy of being and receiving. The universe, which always responds to the frequency you emit, begins to rearrange itself around your throne. The focus shifts from, "How can I get him to love me?" to, "How can I build a life I love so much that the right partner will be a natural and beautiful addition, not a necessary component?" When you embody this sovereignty, you don't find love. Love finds you. It is drawn to your light, your purpose, and your unwavering self-possession. You have finally become the queen you were always meant to be. 10. The eternal reign. Love as an act of divine self-reference. A queen's love is not a transaction, it is an overflow. She does not love in order to be loved in return. She loves because it is her very nature to radiate warmth, grace, and generosity. This is the ultimate state of being, the final destination on the journey of healing the wound. The greatest truth Carl Jung imparted upon the world can be distilled into one profound idea. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When all the layers of conditioning, all the false beliefs born from the wound, and all the projections have been stripped away, what is left is your authentic divine essence. In this state, your actions, especially the act of loving, are no longer referenced against an external person's response. They are referenced against your own inner truth. You no longer ask if he is worthy of you. You simply are. You no longer question if you are lovable. You simply are love. This is the pinnacle of the Stoic ideal, to live a life of virtue, where your well-being and happiness are derived from your own character and inner state, completely independent of external fortunes. Love ceases to be a desperate search for a missing piece and becomes an effortless expression of your own wholeness. When a feminine queen reaches this state of divine self-reference, love is no longer a question she is trying to answer. It is the answer she has become. And any man who has the privilege of entering her kingdom will not bow to her demands, for she has none. He will bow to her presence, for it is the most powerful force in the universe. The script you once lived by, the one written by your wound, is now nothing more than ashes. The throne you once hesitated to claim, believing you were unworthy, is now and forever yours. From this moment forward, my queen, let every choice you make, every word you speak, and every silence you hold be a direct testament to the sovereign ruler you were always destined to be. Step away from the mirrors that show you a fractured reflection and gaze instead upon the magnificent reality of your own soul. The path forged by Carl Jung's wisdom shows us that our deepest pain is merely a signpost pointing the way to our greatest power. You have followed that signpost, and it has led you home to yourself. The right love, The king worthy of your court will find you. He will not find you because you hunted for him, chased him, or tried to convince him of your worth. He will find you because your light, radiating from a place of complete self-possession and inner peace, will become impossible for him to ignore. You have done the sacred work. You have turned your wound into wisdom and your scars into a crown of gold. You are not just a woman who desires love. You are the embodiment of it. Your reign has already begun. Thank you for joining me on this profound journey at Feminine Queen. This is not just a channel. It is a declaration of power, a community of women who are choosing to reign over their own lives with grace, wisdom, and unshakable strength. If this message has awakened the Queen within you, continue this journey with us. Subscribe, share this with every woman you know who is ready to claim her throne and step fully into the magnificent power that has been yours all along. Your crown is not something you earn. It is something you remember you have always been wearing. Reflect on this truth, live this truth, and watch as the world rearranges itself to honor the feminine queen you have finally, fully, and unapologetically become. Your eternal reign starts now.